Hey family, here I am again. Welcome back to another episode on Like It Is with Melissa. And it's your girl, Melissa Freeman. And today, I'm going to title this episode, Walking on Eggshells. So, my people, we hear this often, walking on eggshells. Like, we hear it a lot. And I want to break it down so that's officially broke. So as I make my statements, you will understand why I'm making my statements. So when we say that we're walking on eggshells, we're saying that it's hard to walk and I have to be careful with where I walk or how I walk or where I place my foot because I might break some shells. And if I break some shells, that means I'm going to have to clean those shells up. That means that people are going to look at me like, how in the world did she break that shell? Because she knows there's eggshells all over the floor. So when we say that someone is walking on eggshells, we're really literally saying they can't walk. There's no way possible you can walk on the floor with eggshells all over it and not break something and offend somebody. So let's look at it that way. If you are in a conversation and every time you say something, you feel like you have to walk on eggshells, it means you can't really talk. You're afraid or probably taken back by the response if you were to place your foot or say a certain comment, even though it's not meant to be malicious or offensive. So I know that you have encountered some people where you trying to just have a conversation, you just chilling, you just talking, you just being yourself. And you being yourself, even though you're not malicious or purposely trying to offend anyone, you being yourself, you got to be careful with certain people because the moment you say any little thing, even though you are not being malicious, let me land that. You're not being malicious. But because of where that person is in their walk or in their life, it doesn't even matter what you say. Every little thing becomes a big thing and you're just like lost. And you're feeling like I'm walking on eggshells. I got to be careful about what I say, how I respond. If I don't respond, if I just like nod my head, like every little thing is an issue. And when that happens, what happens is eventually someone just stops talking because walking on eggshells is too hard. It is too hard to live your life, try to be yourself, and you're amongst people where you have to walk on eggshells. That's uncomfortable. I don't know about you, but I'm just not going to be in your presence because I got to be myself. And if I can't be myself and I'm always second guessing what's going to come out my mouth, not because it's offensive, not because it's wrong, not because the tone's off, but just because of where you are, I'm just not going to be in your presence. And if I'm in your presence, I'm just not going to talk because I already know it's going to go to a place where it shouldn't go. So when I speak about walking on eggshells, I'm not just talking about in relationships. I'm talking about in any situation. You could be at your job and feel like you're walking on eggshells. You could be in your home and feel like you're walking on eggshells. You could be with your friends and feel like you're walking on eggshells. And let's stop right there because if you got friends that you feel like you need to walk on eggshells around, then I don't know if they're your friends. And if they are your friends, you're trying to label them as friends, they need to get to know you so they know you're not trying to crack a shell. Yeah. But it can be anywhere. It could be in your place of community where you feel like you have to walk in eggshells. Any place you can feel like you need to walk on eggshells. So it's not just relationships. But in relationships, you see it more often because it's just what it is, right? Because if you're in a relationship with someone and you're really close, there are things that you want to talk about or maybe mention, and then you're afraid to mention it because, listen, you walking on eggshells. Every little thing is an issue. And if every little thing got to be an issue, then let's just not talk because it is too much. Too much. I have said this in other episodes that people need to assume the best. When you assume the worst, that's why people around you have to walk on eggshells. If I say the, and you think or you assume the next word is going to be the person hates me, like that's already in your head, but that's not even where I'm going, then like that's not a they problem, that's a you problem. You assume the worst instead of assuming the best. And even when things look like the worst, you should still assume the best, especially if it's your friend, it's your loved one. It should not always be they're after me. This is what they're trying to do to attack me. They don't care about me. They don't love me. You got to find a medium in your life, because if you walk around believing that everyone is against you and everyone's coming after you, then that does translate into an unhealthy relationship. You assume the worst. You don't assume the best intentions. I am telling you, you have to assume the best intentions. And if you are not at that place, then don't have heavy conversations, because people are going to have strong opinions. And if they can't say how they feel and what's going on in their head, then there's an issue right there. There's an issue, because people got to be able to express themselves. But if you are with someone who assumes the best intentions, they don't assume the worst, they assume the best, then the conversation will usually go in the right direction. You have to assume the best intentions. If something happens and you assume the worst, then even if that's not the case, you've already created this narrative in your head. If that's what it is, then therefore it doesn't matter what the person says. You think that's what it is because your brain is wired and programmed to assume the worst. And that's deep. That what is reality may be not what you believe. And that's scary. That means reality is not in sync with what you believe. So you are feeding yourself toxic thoughts because of where you are. And we got to get this right, y'all, because you can't walk through life assuming the worst and always thinking someone's after you and always thinking someone doesn't care, someone doesn't love you. You have to assume the best intentions. And when you start to assume the worst is what comes to your mind all the time. And if you are someone who feels like you're walking on eggshells, believe it or not, that is a sign of an abusive relationship, whether it is your husband, your wife, your friend, your loved one. If you are not moving the way you would naturally move because of that person, they are now controlling your every step and your every thought and your every move. And that's an abusive relationship, emotionally abusive relationship. So I don't care. I mean, we always talk about relationships, but it could be with your friends. If you are walking on eggshells, I don't care. That's still an emotionally abusive relationship. Like, that friendship is not healthy for you. You should be able to freely say what you got to say, and someone's not always so quickly to be offended. And if they are, I go back to my original statement. That's when people just stop talking. They be like, this is too much work. I can't do it. I can't do it. If every time I move my foot, I crack a shell, and I'm not meaning to, I just need to start walking in your path. Because something ain't right. Something ain't right. I know ain't a word. I know ain't a word, but I'm saying it. This is like it is with Melissa. I could talk how I want when I'm on my podcast. I mean, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Conversations that people have with one another should not get to a place where it's so toxic that people don't understand when not to take something personal. And y'all know I'm going to go back to childhood. I believe that when you are around someone who you have to walk on eggshells around, it most likely means they have dealt with something in their childhood that makes them like that. People just don't wake up and be who they are. Like, there are some experiences that made them like that, where like they're on edge about every statement, or they think you always talking about them when you make a statement, or they think you always talking about their family, or you always referencing something to talk about me, and you're like, what? You ain't always on my mind. So what is going on? But in their mind, any statement you say, they connect it to them and they take it personal. Which in that case, if everything is taken personal, after a while, you're like, I can't say nothing around you. You think it's always about you. You're not on my mind that much. You are not on my mind that much. Lord Jesus, help us. I mean, when we talk about walking on eggshells, let's just be real. If you walk into a room that has eggshells all over the floor, you are going to step on the eggshell. It is hard to prevent yourself from stepping on an eggshell. It is hard to prevent yourself from breaking a shell. It is. So what happens? People will just not come around. They will not come around. They say, it's too much. It's just too much work. Mentally, too much work. And it uses the analogy eggshells because it's so easy to break an egg. So it's saying that the people that are in your path, or the people that you are communing with, are so fragile that any little thing will make them snap, angry, upset, frustrated, or offended, because they're so fragile. So it's not necessarily a thing that you're doing. It's just that they're so fragile that anything you do will make them crack. Now, you know me, I'm about to invent my own phrase. Like, let's walk on rocks. Can we walk on rocks? Come on, y'all. Can we walk on rocks? Yeah, like, can we walk around people where they so solid and confident in themselves and have done the work, that personal internal work, that you can walk on rocks? Like, you can just be yourself and just walk and nothing's going to break, but this going to stand solid and firm, and you can keep walking and nothing's going to crack. Can we have some walk on rocks people? Can we have some walk on rocks people? Where you so solid and you so confident in yourself that I could say and be myself, and you're not going to assume the worst intentions. You're not going to assume the worst. You're not going to take it personal, but you're like, this person is just being themselves and I'm taking it in. Maybe you can learn something from that person. Maybe you can't. But the point is, every little statement doesn't break you, because that's what the shells symbolize, that it breaks you. That's why I say it's a personal thing. If every little thing breaks you, you got to do some personal work, because every little thing shouldn't break you. But if you are a person that someone can come into your presence and you're like a solid rock. Yes, you're like a solid rock. It doesn't matter what they say, especially if it's not malicious. Like, I'm not talking about somebody walking up to you and telling you off. That's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about regular conversations. I'm talking about regular statements that people take personal and just like enhance the situation where it shouldn't even be where it is. Like, I'm talking about that. Like, we need to be able to be that kind of person where someone can be themselves around us and we're not so easily offended and take everything personal. Can I have some walk on rocks people? Instead of eggshell people, can we get some walk on rocks people? Because if you're that, then the people around you, your circle, your community, your friends, your family, your husband, your wife, they will be confident and not feeling like they need to walk on eggshells because they know they're walking on rocks. You get that? So it's a twofold. Like, I'm not saying the person who's coming in your space shouldn't be sensitive and gentle, but my goodness, if you as broken as a eggshell, every little thing that someone says and does is going to break you. So we got to do our internal work. And I said this to someone one day, and I think I've said this when we had a meeting at our job. I said, when I'm giving feedback to someone, the first thing I say to myself is, why are you giving that feedback? Is it something that you haven't handled within yourself that's making you give that feedback? Is there something you haven't dealt with in you internally that is unctioning you to give that feedback? So I first say, reflect in yourself before giving feedback. Don't just assume because you ask for feedback or because it is my duty, I'm holding that position to give feedback, that I could just throw any feedback on the table. No. Why am I giving that feedback? Is it because I want something to look a certain way? Is it because I want something to sound a certain way? Is it because I haven't done my own work? Is it because I have some biases? Like, why is that my feedback? And then once I can settle within myself, then I can move forward to give that feedback. But I have to be confident to know that I'm not throwing my stuff on someone else. And that's why I'm giving that specific feedback. Like, you have to reflect within yourself. Why am I giving that feedback? Why is that my suggestion? Is it in with me? Is it like it's all me in my head, in my heart? Is it in me? Or is it that really needs to be the feedback? Because when you give somebody feedback, you're trying to support them, enhance them, and allow them to grow. And the only way to do that is to make sure you're right. You got to be right, people. You got to be right. Just because you're giving feedback and you have authority to give feedback doesn't mean your feedback is right. But even with that, I'm just mentioning this as an example because it goes back to walking on eggshells. Like, there are some things, even at your job, you have to say to certain ones. And you want to be gentle and you want to be kind. But you also want to make sure you're reflecting on, is that the feedback I should be giving? Is it something internally? Because you are still human. I don't care what title you have. You are still human. If you pinch yourself, you'll say, ouch. You are still human. You are them and they are you. If they pinch themselves, they'll say, ouch. So regardless of title, is that the feedback you need to be giving? So even in the workplace, you would desire that everybody is like, they're like the rock versus the eggshell, but that's not always so. But if you know that you have reflected, then you can give that feedback in confidence, knowing that even if they feel like they are going to break, that you have given them something that's going to help them grow in their profession. And it's always in your delivery. What is your delivery like? Do you just go running in the room and start stumping your feet and breaking shells? No. Do you just go in and start doing cartwheels and jumping up and down? No. You already know them eggshells about to break. You still need to be gentle and tread lightly in what you say to support everyone around you. I gave the example of work, but that can be anywhere. That could be in ministry. That could be in your home. That can be in your relationship. What does the delivery look like? So it's a twofold. That person who, their life is prone to, be developed with a whole bunch of eggshells, and that's how they live, and that's how they, internalize everything. It's an eggshell, you about to break me. And then it's the one who is walking into your space where they know that you are full of eggshells. They need to be gentle. But I will say once again, that means work on both parties. That means work on you, the one walking into that space and the one who's in that space. But my desire is that we all become rocks, that people can come to you and they can say what they need to say. They could talk about stuff that has nothing to do with you, and everything's not personal. Everything is not personal. And so I say that because you just see so many people get offended lately. It's almost like you can't even prevent it. And the Bible even says it. Y'all not got to go in my spiritual. The Bible says offenses will come. But woe unto who it cometh. So, yes, you will be offended. There will be times in your life you will get offended, but woe unto the person that does it. Like, shame on you for offending. But they will come. This is life. You will be offended sometime, even if you are that rock. You will have moments where you feel like your rock has cracked a little bit, even though it's solid. But it can't be every day and every moment, every second with everybody that you breaking, you cracking. You got to start analyzing, like, what is up with me? What do I need to fix in me, if that is you today? But if you are that person who walks into someone's space and you know they full of eggshells and you just start doing cartwheels, like, shame on you too. Like, we are going to offend people sometime, but be careful and try not to. Do your best to try not to. But also identify when you got to get some work done within you. Like, where are you on your journey? Where are you? My friend the other day, she said, you know, Melissa, you're at another place in your life. You are at another place in your life. Who you were years ago, you're just not that person. Like, you just can't. Like, there comes a time in your life where you just can't. You just can't be that 20-year-old you. You just can't be that 30-year-old you. You are in a different place. So my friend would often say, Melissa 2.0. You Melissa 2.0. Like that. Yeah, you just in another level. Like, you know how you upgrade and you just be like, no, I just can't. Like, yeah, I can't. Melissa 2.0. That's where I am with that. And you know what's funny? Like, I even noticed some people get so offended so fast that they'll stroll on social media and they'll look at like a comment somebody made or a video and things of that nature and be like, oh yeah, see, they talking to me. And you be like, man, you telling me out of all the friends that this person has, out of all the people in this world, that they talking about you? That's what I'm talking about. That's actually a great example. If you're someone, you go on social media, Instagram, Facebook, I mean, they all got all kind of stuff now, TikTok, and you're looking at what someone has posted and you're like, oh, they talking to me. Oh, they trying to tell me something. I mean, you the person with the eggshells in your life. If you always think somebody's talking to you over social media when they have thousands of friends. That's one way to identify if you're that person. Because if you're assuming the best, you're going to assume that's not for you. But if you're assuming the worst, you assume that's for you. If you're someone who hasn't done the work in your own life and any little thing is posted, you're assuming that they're talking about you or talking to you. Like, I'm sorry. Like, man, this is like it is with Melissa. I'm noticing more and more that, like, some of the things that I'm saying, I'm like, people need to hear this. Because unfortunately, so many people walk this earth and think they're good and they haven't done any work on themselves. I mean, if I go through Facebook and I'm like, why are they talking to me? They talking to me. Why are they saying that? They talking. Now, remind you, no name is there, but they just put up a post or they make a comment or put up a video. And I'm so adamant that they're talking about me. I got eggshells in my life. I need to remove them eggshells and incorporate some rocks. Because I shouldn't be so quickly offended by something that I'm not even sure if it's spoken to me. My goodness. But this is just a good example of what I mean. Like, we walk through life thinking we're okay and we have so much work to do. We assume the worst. We assume the worst intentions. We don't reflect. We don't think about the whole picture. We take everything personal. And when you do that, you find yourself in a lot of relationships and friendships and communities that feel broken and may not even be broken. But you feel broken in it because of where you are. It's not even everybody else. It's you and where you are. My goodness, do we got work to do? And y'all know when I say we, I'm talking about all of us. There's always something to work on. I know one thing, though. I'm not the one sitting with eggshells in my life. Every little thing don't break me. I can be like, now back in the day maybe, but now I could be like, oh really, that's what's going down? All right, cool. All right, so this is my next steps. All right, yup. All right, cool. I don't shed a tear. I don't even think twice. I may reflect a little bit and think about it and be like, man, that's crazy. But like I can't dwell on it because life is too short to dwell on stuff and be stuck there. Like I just can't do it. I can't do it. And so I'll quickly just move on. Like I know I have enough rocks in my life. I'll say it this way because I'm not perfect. I have enough rocks in my life that I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. That's what you want to do. All right. And I'm not sad. I'm not upset. I'm not crying. I just know my next move. And my next move is whatever's going to bring me peace because life is too short. You know? So we have to do the work. You should be asking yourself today, are you doing the work? Are you the one who has eggshells in your life? Or are you the one who has rocks in your life? Or do you have a mix? And where are you and where are you trying to take your journey? Where do you want to be in your personal journey? Do you want to be at a place where you're better? That regardless of what group or what surroundings you're in, you're not always broken, but you understand that what's being said is okay because you're assuming the best? Or do you want to be that person that's always thinking someone's ready to attack you and go after you and talk about you? Where do you want to be? See, the reality is hurt people hurt people. So if you're that person with the eggshells in your life, you're bound to be hurting other people and sometimes not even recognize it because you haven't done the work. Hurt people hurt people. So let's get it together, y'all. Let's make sure that we're reflecting and doing better in our own personal growth. All right, so I hope you all got something from this today. Listen, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the family. If you haven't already, go ahead and download. Join this family. Check out my website, www.likeItiswithmelissa.com. And go ahead and join all the other families. Purchase my book, What's Butterflies Got to Do with It? Purchase your own personal prayer box to go along with the book as a tool. And listen, do what you got to do. Y'all know what to do. Support a sister. All right, so I am done for today. My time is valuable and your time is valuable. So I'll talk to you later. Peace.